All right. I think we're ready for our next session. You know, when Angela was on stage and she said, 90s babies, don't let me down. And nobody knew that song that she was singing. Ah, okay, hold on. Do I know the other one? What was it? Tiederomane bet. Tiederomane bet. Oh my God. We're doing badly. We're doing badly, but it's okay. At least you knew the first one. Okay, so we are about to call the next panel, but before we do you have a copy of the program? You don't have a copy of the program. So when you go to the marketplace, there are a lot of QR codes scattered all over. Please scan that, and you will get a digital copy of the program. Just to know how it's going, and also like a keepsake, a little souvenir. And remember, by the way, Happy Mother's Day. How could I forget? Happy Mother's Day. Mamas in the house? Look at y'all. Listen, mother figures in the house? Okay, those who came from a mother? Okay, so happy Mother's Day to all of us, right? So listen, if you brought your kiddies, by the way, there's actually a dedicated children's area inside the library. You can actually leave your children there. Free babysitting, because it is Mother's Day. So please take advantage. And if they're home, tell them as well. If you are taking this for socials, our hashtag is NBO LitFest. NBO LitFest on all platforms, at Hay Festival as well on all platforms. We are streaming live, so hello to the live audience at home. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's get into the next panel, that is. But first, I also want to say, our main festival partners, we have to thank the people who made this possible. Open Society Foundation, thank you so much. British Council UK Kenya Season 2025. If your representatives are here, thank you so much. Hawthornden Foundation, and the Nairobi City County. Thank you for making this possible. All right, let's get into it. Our next session is called Documentary as Memory. Have you watched How to Build a Library? Oh, okay, I love it. So we're gonna have the filmmakers who are partners in both, well, work and home, and they're absolutely amazing. From Kenya, we're gonna have Maia Lekow, Chris King, and then from Senegal. I don't know if you saw him dancing to a Kikuyu song over here when it was starting. All the way from Senegal, another amazing filmmaker. His name is Moussa, Sene, Absa, and their moderator, Kelvin, Kariuki. Please welcome our next panel for Documentary as Memory to the stage. And our sign language interpreter, what's your name, Mom? Tracy who? Okay, and our sign language interpreter, Miss Tracy Wairimu as well. Give it up for her. Fantastic. So Kelvin, please take a seat right here at the end. Maia and Chris. I mean, you share many things, so you can share the seat. Welcome and enjoy.
Hi, guys. Woo. So, welcome. Today we are going to be talking about film, their film, his long collection of film, and the conversations that happen in documentary filmmaking and also fiction, because you've also done a couple of fictions. So I will start with you, Maia and Chris. You have been in this library for 8 years as filmmakers, going around following two wonderful women as they do their craft. Now you join us as part of the crew, part of the people who are just enjoying the library. Tell me what this transition is like, and what do you think their work has impacted on this community?
Thanks, Kelvin. Good afternoon. Good morning, everybody. How is everyone doing? Yeah, it's funny because the filmmakers who are here today documenting the library are also filmmakers that we have worked with on several projects. So when I saw Kina Leon and the crew, I was like, gosh, it's so weird to be on this side as just audience members rather than filming or checking the sound or figuring out who are going to be following. So it's nice to be here in this capacity. What was the other question?
What has this experience changed for you as somebody who your work was how to build a library? The library is here. How has that changed you as a filmmaker in now how you're going to go to other projects after this?
You know, I think for each documentary, and we've currently made 2, and there's another one in production, where everything and everyone is so different. But I think fundamentally, like the main thing is that you know that the relationship with all of your subjects is for life. And that's not just Akinashiro Mashuka, it's also the librarians, it's also the book bank team. You know, if after filming people for such a long period of time, you essentially are becoming a family for life. And so I feel like that's definitely something that we take through all of our films, both on and off camera. And it's the same here. I mean, this feels like home. We've been here for, you know, a long time and many times. So I think that for me, I think is the most important, just in terms of now that family.
I think if I was to add anything, just what I love about film is that it takes a very long time to make, but a very short time to watch. So I think when we first came here, it must have been 2017, when we first saw Eastland's library in its original state, and we knew what the project was and the ambition was. We knew that we were going to be documenting change. And we had no idea how that change was going to unfold, but we just knew all we have to do, you know, week by week, like a time lapse of life, just capture the before, the during, and the after. And even we did some of our last pickups, I think 2 years ago at Litfest, and even the change from then. Like the library was new, but Litfest 2 years ago, those seats weren't there, and the second half was, you know, half full, at least for the sessions that we filled. So even just sitting here, I'm like, again, every week we come, there's the change doesn't stop. So what I love about at least the medium of film, visually you're capturing that incremental change, especially in documentary. And there was a screening at Kaloleni, the community hall. And Washuka was telling us there was a teenage girl who came and just sobbed on her shoulder for like 15 minutes after watching the film. And Opa, who works with the Book Bank team, staged a screening of the film, and people from Eastlands who've come up to us, just seeing the reaction of the film, but ultimately like the work that Book Bank are doing, just seeing how that's connecting with people here. Is the reason why we make the films in the first place.
Moussa, you have had a career spanning, I think now you're getting to 4 decades, and you have tried in your films to capture the people, the places where you grew up in a post-colonial world, now coming to Kenya. I think this is your 4th time here. 4th. Yes, 4th. You have seen the film, and you've been around the people of Kenya. Tell us about the similarities you're finding in the post-colonial world here that is similar or different to the one in Senegal.
Oh, thank you for this question. Thank you for inviting me here, flying me from Dakar to Nairobi. I think film is a universal language. My master, he wouldn't like me to define him like that, because he would say I'm a bad master. Jibril would say, cinema is wonder. Cinema is about lending your eyes to a blind person. It's like tracing stories through your inner feeling and digging very profound to find something essential that you can share. Like make people comfortable to live in a world you create. And so for me, filmmaking in Senegal or in Kenya, I think it's the same. It's all about storytelling, because storytelling is identity. If you don't have your stories, you will have the stories of the people next door. If you don't protect your culture, we were talking about language, the round table before, and language also is identity. You know, if you don't use your language, languages die, because there are languages that disappear in the world. And I think that this kind of event helps. One thing important is to make people understand that literature is the base of knowledge and the base of culture. Because when you read, you multiplicate yourself. When you read a book, you multiplicate yourself. When you don't read, you divide yourself. And I think that what is important in this event is mixing all ways of storytelling through books, through films, through art, through music, and also bring all these people together in order to express, to make a fingerprint in the new world. In the new world that really, I don't know if we are aware of it, but there is a new world coming. The world is changing very quick, especially in nowadays with what's happening in Iraq, what in Iran, what's happening in Lebanon, what's happening in Palestine. You know, the world, because now people are just used to be to inhale fear. You know, COVID was just like to put us to test how fear works on us, how we are afraid of dying, and knowing that we will die one day anyhow. But there is a very narrow space where I think film and culture have to navigate. But if they don't navigate in this narrow space, then the humanity will be in danger. And I think that this is the most important thing that I can link between, no matter Nairobi, Dakar, Johannesburg, wherever you go, as long as you tell about the story, then you grow up.
There's something you've mentioned about music. I know you have a musical background. You have stated in the past that you start by writing the music of your film before you actually make the film. I want to hear what you bring to the music that ends up in your films. For Maia and Moussa.
I call myself a retired musician, former musician, but I think what's been really interesting is coming from just a musical landscape before I got into documentary, is how there's always been an interest in like other sounds and other senses. And I feel like that, you know, because obviously like when you're writing albums or when you're writing films, I mean, documentary, you're also writing in the edit, but you kind of essentially know the line that or the themes that you're looking for. And I feel like with sound and with music, both on and off the camera and in writing, is that you're really creating I don't know how to explain, like a thick lining. I don't know if this is going to make any sense, but it's okay. I'll try. But like a sensory experience that then also will just be enhancing what we're seeing. And I think that that's really important, even from like the music that we're listening to when we're editing, or the music that we're listening to in our living room, or the little line that, you know, our children are singing. I feel like all those things are somehow also being incorporated in the work that we do. And I think it's just as important as the visuals, because I feel like you're really tapping into, you know, the other like sounds that some people have said to us, oh, the score of your film, you could really hear like how, you know, you were taking that insect from this space into, you know what I mean? So I feel like the importance of all of these things coming together and all being as strong as each other is just making a better film and better music. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. For me, music is the base of storytelling, because the world starts with a beat. This beat is our way of breathing, when we breathe. It's also when we walk. It's also when we work the soil. It's when we pull. When I start a film, first of all, the idea of the film comes through a song. I remember the first time I did the first part of the trilogy in '97. I asked the producer, I have to make the music before. And he was very surprised, asking me, come on, Moussa, I've never seen a filmmaker wanting to make the music before shooting the film. I say because the music is the main line of narration of my story. Because the music is not outside the story. The music is inside the story. And how it comes? First of all, I have melodies in my head. That's how it starts. I have melodies in my head. I write some lines. I try to find lines that goes with this melody. I find words. And then I write 1 song, 2 songs, 10 songs, 12 songs, 15 songs. And then I try to edit all the songs together and try to find how I can get from this mood to this mood, this situation to the other one. So it's like a weaving all these things together, and then the idea of the film is there. It takes me maybe 1 week after writing the songs to find the storyline of the film. It's a very organic way of working on film. It is not something that I just like make a film and then say, oh, what kind of music do I have to put there? It's the contrary. And I like to challenge, and that's what I ask young filmmakers. Challenge yours. Don't be in the same road, man. Don't walk in the same road. Find other ways, discover, explore, dig deep, find some tricks. Not being always in the same way, introduction, development, conclusion, Aristotle thing. It's very simple. So, and we don't tell the stories in the same way in Africa. All my films start by the end. And people ask me, how can you always start by the end? I say, in Africa, when we tell a story, we are not linear. For example, they will say, Kelvin, do you know the girl who got married last night? I said, what girl? The one we met the last day in the bar. Which one? The daughter. And then they say, Kati or anything. Because, and this is very important, we prepare the audience. It's a very elegant way of storytelling. It's to prepare the audience to digest and understand the words that you're using and then prepare to receive it. It's like you are cleaning a glass before you put water. It's the same thing. And when I shoot a film, it's always in terms of emergency, vitality. Because I always look at what is the main substance that I have to in my head every day. Every morning I wake up. One thing. It doesn't move. And at every time I make a film, I always surprise myself. And I get surprised by something that happened. Because I don't know what I'm doing now. Till I am in the set, I don't know. And I don't want to know. So it's something surprising. And this is the organic thing that moves you. And when you face your actor, when you face your actor, it's another way of looking at it. It reflects something else, which is not something that you're used to see, but you try to see this actor or this actress in another shade. in another way and try to film it in the same thing in documentary. Yeah? I don't want to know. Because if I know, I get bored. And, you know, being bored is the enemy of art. And if I'm bored, I don't follow. And try always to find something that push the story, push back, push. And when you push and push, there is no more limit. And then you are in it's like a funambule. How you can say funambule? Funambule is those walking on strings. In a string. Yes, in a tightrope. Just walking on it. You don't know when. It's dangerous. You can fall. But every step is a success in front of life. Everywhere you move, every time you move, something is discovered, you know? And I like to shake all these things together. That's my way. Yes.
For Maia and Chris, in the 7 years that you were here, telling the story of all these libraries and the process of building them, there is a lot of memory, a lot of actions, a lot of characters, all these people intermingling in your camera. What was the process in the editing room to discover, okay, this one can get into the story, this one cannot? And at what point or what happened that you're like, okay, now we have a story on how to build a library?
I think the title came to us very early, and I think that helped us to really anchor our lens, because there are so many incredible people that pass through the library every day, incredible people that work here. But I think we were most interested in the building aspect. Because I think for us, our interest was really, I guess, interrogating the part of the decision making, the part of really like interrogating like the ruling class and all the decisions that get made that determine how a society functions. So when we were tempted, like we could have made a whole film just on Jacob Ananda, the head librarian, and we'd love to. We could have made, we filmed the librarians here before Book Bunk kind of came in and understood their stories and the proximity of the neighborhoods. Kaloleni as a neighborhood could be its own film. But for us, we had to just. We filmed all of that. That's why it takes 6 years. But in the edit room, it really became about why are we wanting to make this film, and what is our fuel, and we just had to come back to the process of the building and not the physical building, but the psychological process of building, and not just building a library, but building community, building culture, building togetherness, and that's how we had to just keep on that singular line that could take us through the story. Yeah.
And I just want to quickly add, like we were just talking before coming on stage, and as a film critic, I was asking you what were those things that you liked and that you disliked, and you were saying, I wish I had seen more kids and more community. And I think, as Chris says, is that we are filming everything, and we had like a 3-hour cut, but then in the end, like in the edit room, and I think that's what's so fascinating about documentary, is that the story is being made in the edit. And so really like knowing like, okay, we have this archival stuff we want to show. How many times is that going to come in? How important is that to be able to thread the story? Then we have obviously, colonial narrative, and we have now the King of England coming to Kenya. Okay, like how does that look? Then of course we've got Shira Mwashuka and what they're trying to build and that process. So it's so difficult because you need to have now a film that's 80 minutes, 90 minutes max. But you have so much stuff. And I find obviously so many people in this room, you're understanding what I'm saying when it comes to story is how are you really trying to just find that gold, but enough to obviously be able to, it's not as simple as just saying, oh, there's Shira Mashuka. What is Shira Mashuka made of? What is the Macmillan Library? What's the history? So I feel like it's so complicated and it's so tiring, but it's also so exciting once you feel like you found all those pieces that are working together and something that is relating in particular to Kenyans, to wider Africans, and then I would now say internationally.
For Moussa, you have dabbled in both documentary filmmaking and fictional filmmaking. But at the end of it all, the essence of your films are almost the same. It's about your people and the places you come from. My question is, how do you know which model to use for a specific story? And do you have documentaries that you wish had more fiction, or do you have fiction that you wish were documentaries?
Oh, my documentaries have something very special. I don't make, I make what I call I film, I film, which means no voiceover, that's forbidden. Not too much talking head. I give the voice to the others, but I give the voice to the others, and I just get connected in a way that every moment is part of a film. Documentary is about making poetry with daily life and drama with problems. And once you understand this, poetry and drama, then you get the sense of a documentary. But in fiction, what is interesting is I look. I don't see. I used to say that looking is the contrary of seeing. Hearing is the contrary of listening. Saying is the contrary of telling. So once you understand that film is an art, because this is the big question nowadays. Is film art? That's the question now. Where is art in films? We call it the seventh art. But where is the art now, knowing that we have artificial intelligence coming, we have so many things coming, money is really making an aggression on cinema. And what is the position of a filmmaker? Is he an artist? I believe so. I think that filmmaking is about art. It's about creating something that you can grab. It's like something very juicy that you feel very comfortable with. And you can share it, and I can give it to you, and you take it with love. Because film is about love. Film is about sharing something that is extremely important for you, and you think that that can help the humanity. And because at the end of the day, what is important is, and I like when I show my films, I look at the faces in the beginning, I present my film, I look at the faces. And then 5 minutes before the end, I get out and I look at the faces again. And I see in the face there is some hello. There is something. And then I can say, I touch them. They are not the same people at the beginning than at the end. And for me, this is art. Art has to push, to move people. And we're losing it. We're losing it. And I think that Africa has so much to say. Africa has so much to show. Africa has so much to share. And I used to say that the world is limping because one leg is missing. And this leg is Africa. And the day we will have this other leg, which is Africa, in the body of the world will be perfect. Because our way of connecting to the nature, connecting to each other, connecting with the land, connecting with gods, connecting, we have so many connections around that every connection is a solution. But the world doesn't want to listen to us because the world is afraid of what we can change, the paradigm of their law of money, law of greed, law of this, which is not our nature. I like to go and see my cousins in the countryside, and when I come there and sit with them, I question myself now. What is art for if you have no access? Everybody has no access to it. How we can share something just with a minority leaving the majority? So I do believe that that's why this kind of venue is very important, because I've learned a lot. I have learned a lot with these panels, and I think that we have to be aware of the power of storytelling, because storytelling is also a base of a memory, to build a memory that will be remaining, and then we can share it centuries and centuries later. Thank you.
A question for all of you. When you documentary filmmaking, when Hollywood makes a documentary, they have the story in mind. They go find the interviews that will serve that story. They might even recreate a fictional world just so that they can say, okay, this is what we want to say. Africans, we tend to stay with our characters. We stay with them for a certain amount of time, and then the story finds itself inside whatever we find with them. But then if you break it down further, there's a dichotomy between how the West approaches stories and the way East Africans approach story. Like in your film, there's a scene where a character says, somebody must have died here. And then everyone is laughing because there's a frame with a skeleton, and you're like, okay. But then if you look at how West African does it, there's a film that came out last year, Dahomey. And it's still the same premise, but now the spirit is actually talking. The Western, with their spirituality, even comes out in their documentaries. I want to hear what you think about that dichotomy.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's shifting, and I think it's happening now so strongly, and in all of these panels we've been hearing, like now we as Africans have more of a voice internationally, and people are now starting to listen to us. And the reason why I'm saying this is because for our first film, The Letter, I'm going to Via Kidogo, but I'm coming back. Our first film, The Letter, is about this nyanya who has been accused of being a witch in Kilifi County. And the reason why I'm bringing it to her story is because from the Western gaze, when we were trying to find the funding for that film, people were just like, but we want to see like witchcraft in action, and we want to see like how people are burnt, and we're like that's not the film. We don't want to exotify witchcraft, and we just want to make this story where people are understanding how, the missionaries came, Christianity, the pagan beliefs that were there before, the oral stories. So I feel like there's such a strong sense of story and oral storytelling here that is so connected with spirituality. And I feel like so many filmmakers and so many stories and so many, artists, we're all trying to figure out like the best ways to be able to portray these things that is working, firstly, I feel like for ourselves. And then how does that then look outside? And I think even with how to build a library, like I remember we screened it at Sundance in January last year, and people were like, but we don't understand, how that spiritual, like what was she talking about? And like, I feel like we don't have to give context to people on the continent because they just understand what it is that we're trying to say. Of course, we're also wanting to expand the realms of other people understanding our stories and our narratives. But I feel like there is just like such a strong spiritual perspective in all the films that we make, in things that, are important to us, however that looks.
If I could add anything, I think as a foreigner, as an outsider, a Westerner, to go that far, I think I was really kind of surprised first coming here in 2007, and also seeing the way that many other outsiders come with this, I guess, preconception of what they're coming to, and somehow some kind of idea that they have some kind of solution to some kind of problem, and that really kind of astounded me when people would be like, "Oh, so what are you here to fix?" And I'm like, I was a 21-year-old. Like, how is a 21-year-old going to come and kind of fix anything? And so, I think and in our films and in our editing, almost try to give that same sensation to people from the outside, and they have to catch up. They have to they have to feel a little bit out of their depth. I think that's important. That for foreign audiences outside of Kenya, there's some dots that may be difficult for them to connect, but that's the point, I think, because when we showed the film in Kenya and the film was edited, I think primarily for Kenyans, it's like we don't want to have the pressure to have to tell like the whole story of Kenyan history, because that's not our responsibility. There are things you can Google and things you can look up. And what I didn't realize until we released this film, that there is a lot of pressure on films from the continent to explain everything. And that's impossible. How can you explain everything in 90 minutes? If we were going to explain everything in this film about everyone, that would be an 8-year film times 300 people, so 300 times 8. I don't know. It would be a film like many centuries long to be able to tell everything. So our point is to allow enough gaps between the dots so people can connect them, and it's up to the audience. And we love the way the audience has to reach a little bit to be able to make sense of what they're looking at, and you realize that every single person is seeing themselves in this film, or in any film. You're holding up a mirror to the viewer, and one person will see, you've got too many women sweeping. What's that about? And then another man will be like, hey, why do you only have men doing manual labor, and why is this film about women? And you realize that everyone is bringing their own kind of personal experience to the film. So how do you make a film for everyone? It's kind of impossible. Yeah.
I make films for myself. That's very selfish. But I tell the story to myself first. If I'm moved by the story, if I cry with this story, if I laugh with this story, I'm sure it will make people cry or laugh. Because it's a question of sincerity, to be sincere, to be profound. That's why I ask the people to find their own fundamentals. You know, what is inside of you that pushes you to make films? Why? Who are you to tell a story? why are you telling this story? This one is, and not that one. Who choose the story? You? I don't believe. I think that we are receptacle, how you call it? Recipients, that things go through us. I believe in that. Because sometimes I'm here, I don't know what, and then suddenly I start to write. And I start to write, and I start to cry. And I start to cry, and then sometimes I laugh. And sometimes I'm sad. So I'm healing myself first. I'm healing myself first. But because if I heal myself, then I can heal the others. If I move myself, I can move the others. If I laugh at myself, I can laugh to the others. But I cannot just come and say, oh, let me write a story for these people. No, I write for myself. I heal myself first. If I'm touched, if I move, if I'm moved, if I feel sad about one story, then if I write it, I'm sure. And I don't write like people write scripts, scene 1, interior, exterior, scene 2. I don't write like that. I write a book. I tell a story. I tell to myself the story. And once I tell the story to myself, and then I'm very happy about it, then I send it to my actor, and I send it to somebody, my friend, my best friend, and then they come back to me with some ideas. So it's sharing. It's also giving space to fantasia. Give space to something that is not written. Give space. You know, my master, I was the first AD of Jibril in Hyenas. In Hyenas, one sentence, Koloban wakes up. It's one sentence. We shoot it 2 days. Koloban wakes up. The city is waking up. 2 days shooting. And I think that that is magic on film. If everything is known, everything is I don't like that. And people say, oh, can you make a short list before I cannot. Don't ask me to make a short list. I don't know what I'm doing. I just try to steal the eyes of somebody and lend my eyes to a blind person like you or me or another one. And just like every moment is a surprise. Cinema is about surprise. It's about wonder. It's about something that, wow. If I know where you're going, I'm not interested to go with you. Maybe. But if I don't know where you go, but you tell me, you convince me, oh man, we go there, you will find, and then I follow you. But I don't know where you're going. And this is film. This is how, to take the hand of the audience and then pull the audience with you, bring the audience in a way, in a situation that they doesn't expect, because there is confidence. He is confident. That's why I always start by the end. Look, all my films start by the end. Let me tell you one sequence. A man dressed as a woman with a red skirt get out of a taxi, come in a house. There is a restaurant. Where is my wife? Oh, inside. He enters the room. There is a woman having a gun. And then you get out. People are waiting. And then suddenly, bang, bang, bang. Who kills? Why? Who is this man dressed as a woman? Who is this? Then you sit down because you want to know why. And I think this is a very African way of storytelling. Not the beginning, they meet, they fall in love, I'm not interested in this way. You understand? That was it.
I want to watch Moussa's films.
Yes.
Anyone else want to watch Moussa's films? Yeah.
Cinelog.com.
Cinelog.com. You need to use your mic.
Films are there.
It's interesting that you say you make films for yourself, but then the definitions that end up happening after your films is that your films are very female-centric. And for Maia and Chris, the two films that you have done before are about women. And I'm sure the one you're working on right now is also about a woman. So I want to understand why all of you, why is it out of choice or circumstance that all your stories gravitate towards women?
I think for us is, first of all, like what Moussa is saying, is that the film you're making has to be something that you're personally connected to. And I feel like also for our films, like Kilifi County, Kaloleni is also my home. Same with Nairobi. So making Book Bank, this film on the library and Macmillan and Book Bank, it also personally resonated in terms of the creative community and what's happening in Nairobi. Same with this next one is in Lamu County about a young lady who's running for governor. So which is also family are there. So I feel like all of the films that we do are rooted in a very personal journey and maybe teachings of where are these places that I call home? Where are my family? What are the cultures that, for me as a Nairobi kid, I hadn't been taught? My mom's white, my dad's Kenyan, he's black. And I feel like a lot of the panel that was previous is that, you're trying to figure out your identity. And when it comes to language and culture and all those things. So for me, it's only like later where I was allowed through film and through music to be able to now explore these specific areas and places that I call home, to be able to then make stories about. What was your initial question, Kelvin?
Is it choice or circumstance?
Yes. So I think it's both. I think for all of the stories that we have created, the story comes to us. And like, for example, like The Letter, we had gone on a journey because we'd heard about the history of Mekatilili wa Menza. Mekatilili was a freedom fighter who fought against the British. And for us, what was interesting is that she was bringing people together through dance and music. And so we had gone on a journey where we were filming like a cultural community and group who were telling her history along the coast of Kenya. As we were doing that, a lot of the elders were like, we wanted to share this history about Mekatilili, but also currently, our lives are in danger. And a lot of elders in Kilifi County are being killed, accused of witchcraft. So then the story then kind of slightly shifted where we were then having interviews with a lot of these elders, but we also just had like a lot of talking heads, which also we really try to stay away from in our filmmaking, but it's hard sometimes. But it wasn't in the film, this is very true. So we were like, okay, we have all of these talking heads, we have this historical figure, but how are we now going to be like relating to it visually? Like, what are we seeing? How are people feeling? And then we had a young man who was a translator. He came to translate for us in Kigiriama. And he was watching the film and his face was just changing as he was like listening to these interviews. And he was saying, this is what's happening to my nyanya now, my grandma now. So for us, then that was already 2 years in to making the film. We then thought, okay, let's go spend time without the camera. Let's spend time in Kilifi with the Nyanya and Kaladze, our main character in The Letter, and just see what's there, see how we can kind of, So that's how that story came to us. So it was kind of, it's a bit of both, right? And then same with How to Build a Library. Shiro Mashuka have been in the creative space for a long time. We've both worked with them in different capacities over the years. And so they told us that they'd gone to Macmillan to look for a venue for a Lit Fest. And that's now when that journey began. I think very early on, we knew that this library would be able to then tell so much more than just their story, which is very important, but also the story of Kenya. And then same with our next one, we had an impact producer who was working on The Letter, and there was a very interesting family, all very female-led, through a father who was quite feminine in his thinkings. So that also was really interesting. It's like, I feel like it's important to be able to share voices of African women and just like the awesomeness of stuff that's happening in Kenya. And I think that that's obviously, as a woman myself, that's kind of what's drawing me to these stories.
Yeah. Amen. And yeah, I don't think we ever got up in the morning and said, let's find fascinating women and make films about them. It's just, I think all of our films have been accidental, and it just so happens that, at least in our experience, the most profound and fascinating stories and people pushing change that we've seen and been in a place to make a film about that have been women. And I don't think it's, yeah, the whole, I mean, they're not polar opposites, like female and male, I don't think. I think there's a very, this isn't just a time where I think femininity is beginning to be celebrated more like it should, but I think also it's about reimagining or interrogating masculinity as much as it is femininity. And I think the letter, a little less How to Build a Library, is also about male vulnerability as much as it is about female power. And I don't think there's any, it doesn't feel like there's any real lack of like celebrating men in the world. And so I think, but there is I think a deep desire to understand more, especially as a man, to understand more about the divine feminine and what would a world look like if, say, the men hadn't just like claimed power for themselves, however 1,000 years ago in most of the world. What would our world look like? And the future feels feminine, I think, and it feels like there's so much. We're becoming so alienated, and things are becoming so strict and I guess detached just personally from space, from each other. It's always felt like the female characters are bringing the world back to where there's deep connection and understanding and care. For the world, and those are the things that have always drawn us to be able to experience that and to try and just pass that on to the world. Yeah.
Why I make this trilogy, Women Destinies? This trilogy about women. Many people ask me, why are you always talking about women? My answer is very simple. I love women. Very simple. That's the first take. The second take is that I don't know my father. My father died, I was 3 days. So I've been raised by my mom and 3 aunts. Beautiful singers, divas, incredibly provocative. As my mom didn't have a daughter, I was the daughter of my mom. So I was sent to do some commission, to cook, to do everything that a young girl was supposed to do for the mom. And then I was just like very close to my aunts and my mom, and then they forget that I'm a man, I'm a boy. They were talking. They were talking about their life, their lovers, their husband, their da-da-da. And I was just listening. I was like 10, 9. I was listening. And really, all my stories about women started there. That is my fundamental. These are my fundamentals. Because living next to them, seeing them crying, seeing them laughing, because they were singers. They were going to weddings and singing. Or they always come with a lover. So, and there was just like very free women. One of them in a Muslim country like Senegal, she loved wine. She was drinking wine. I didn't know what she was drinking because I didn't know that it's alcohol. But she was drinking alcohol, and sometimes she got mad. And you know, and I think that all these things that happen in a court, like 200 square meter, where we were like 12 people, a person, 6 women, in the same compound, with many stories, you know, and with a griot family. I come from a griot family, which means that every time after lunch, after dinner, they will turn the calabashes and start to rock. And they could sing and talking to each other. You know, they can talk to a man sitting there and singing without the man knowing that they're talking about him. And that's the reason why I use a lot of music. So for me, it's natural that I talk about women because I don't know men. I am very close to women. And my wife always say, when I make a party in my house and invite people, I look at the list. She look at the list. I say, where are the men? There will be maybe 2 or 3 men in 50 or 20 persons. And I think that I cannot do anything for that. I just like their stories. They touch me. They move me. I see beauty on them. I see love on them. I see peace on them. I see the future on them. And especially, I see friendship. They are very close to friendship. They are very attached to emotions. And emotions are so good for film. You know, film is about emotion. And women bear this emotion. You can see in their face, you know, not to hide, but just show, you know, the courage of showing. That's what I love in them. That's me.
My final question will be for you, Moussa. When, as a filmmaker or as a film lover, you watch all these Hollywood films, once you finish with Christopher Nolan and Tarantino, at some point you'll have to ask yourself, what are the best African films? And then most of the time you will find Tukibuki. You worked on it, and now you've had a legacy that has spanned so many films. What is your word of encouragement for people like Chris and Maia who are in the process of also building their own legacy, and the filmmakers and writers and storytellers who are at the beginning of that journey?
Wow. For me, what is the most important thing is, for young filmmakers, my advice is always, don't look like anybody. Don't try to look like someone. Don't try to make films like Tarantino or like Jibril, even though you can love their films. But inside of you are sleeping so many stories. They are just there. They just wait for you to pick them. But you have to be aware of the fragility of these stories inside of you. It means try to understand why things happen like this. Try to provoke the stories. Try to not be, okay, the story is there. Okay, I know that you are there. But let me look around. Let me look behind. Let me look in the other side. Let me question myself. Let me question the others. Let me just try to. It's like the skin. No. L'écaille de la, the scales of your body, the scales. You know, when you have a fish, and you take the scales out, it's the same thing. Sometimes you can go and it's itching, but it can be itching till the blood comes out, and it's good. Even the blood is there, but you continue itching. That's for me storytelling. Don't be superficial. Don't try to please. Don't try to be like. Be and dare. Thank you.
Another round of applause for our guests.
Thank you so much. What an amazing session. One final round of applause for that. Thank you. I'm going to ask all the panelists to step to the front so we can take a beautiful picture. So hold on. There's some flowers for you. We would like to give people their flowers while we still can. Happy Mother's Day, Moussa and Chris. And Maia. Thank you so much. One final photo. Step in front for one final photo. Yes. Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's been lovely. Kelvin, the moderator, by the way, is a film critic. If you know Cinema Focus, do you all know Cinema Focus? That's him. I love it. So question, how many people know what the third space is? Okay. Teacher Spet, see your hand up. Who else knows what the third space is? Do we know? Okay, I see a couple switched on, but that's what we're here to learn. So a third space is a space that's not your home, number one.